Hello and a good evening to all you viewers out there. I am Elke and I'm your host this evening with a wonderful show. The other night I happened to attend a wonderful party and I saw this most fascinating lady, and I couldn't help myself, but I went over and introduced myself because I was so curious who this fascinating woman lady was, and she is with me tonight because I thought I had to introduce her to you, and she's with me tonight, and it's none other but Countess Zoltowska. Hello, Countess.
Hello, very nice to meet you, and it's nice to be here.
It's very good to have you here. I was so fascinated just looking at you. I just had to come over and get acquainted with you.
You make me blush.
Blush with all these wonderful colors. As you probably noticed, my beautiful sunglasses, we will go into it later because at this very moment I just wanted you to see them, you viewers out there, because I will have to change back to my regular glasses to make sure I see all the colors around me. This is one of the Countess creations, and we will get back to them a little later.
And I can also make for your glasses, I also make them on prescription glasses, so you can see all
so I
of them.
can see the next time we get together. That's wonderful.
Right.
Okay, well, let me introduce you first of all a little more than just Countess Cici. Tell me, not every day do we have a countess or someone with a royal title on our show here in West Hollywood, or anywhere else for that matter. Can you tell us a little bit more about your background, where you from, and
I am half Austrian and half Hungarian, and I was born in Vienna but partly raised on our properties in Hungary, which I especially loved because I love horses so much. And since I was a very little child, horses and colors were always what interested me the most.
I can see the colors.
One told me, I didn't remember it, but one told me that when I was 4 years old, I had myself put on the back of a horse, and I tied colored bows in its mane. I always loved to make things more colorful or more beautiful or
they
more
must have
exciting.
been beautiful as you were galloping through the woods.
Well, I didn't gallop at 4. I galloped a few years later. At that time, I only tied rims. The galloping and training horses came later.
Yeah, so you were more or less born with a creative spark in you, and carried it through all the way up to this very moment.
Right.
Well, see, that is what really fascinated me when I saw you, the colors on you. I mean, it was so vibrant. In fact, because nowadays I see a lot of this type of jewelry in our stores. It seems to have become a great thing right now. But from what I understand in our talking at that time and earlier, tell me a little bit about what got you into these colors, into these and the creations.
Well, the colors, I am a painter.
You're a painter.
So colors, since I was born, I always loved colors. And I left Hungary just before the Russians came in, and I left my jewelry behind. And I just went for 2 weeks to visit my mother in Switzerland. I thought I would come back. We didn't realize that the Russians were coming in.
Yes.
When you are in the middle of something, everybody else knows it, but you don't. Mm-hmm. So when I came out, and at once I found myself with no jewels, and I never liked false jewelry. I don't like imitation. And what I'm trying to do is I make real fantasy. And that's how I finished studying chemistry. And then one day my mother called, I think it was the 31st of August, and said, the Russians are in, the properties are gone, tomorrow there is no more money. You are on your own. Mm. And it wasn't very funny, but I took it as a sport. Oh. What else can you do?
Yeah.
So I started out with jewelry of ceramic in Switzerland. Mm-hmm. And I made, in the shortest time, it went very well, and I had a man who sold them all over the country. And I made ceramic jewelry, and I also made a decorated, hand-decorated glass with gold, and I had my own little stove. It wasn't bigger than about that. And I baked them in it, and that's how the whole thing started.
So more or less, you went to school and you took up chemistry and
Mathematics.
Quite academic features there, and I mean, I can't even put it into terms as what we have on right now. In a way, you could maybe the chemistry, you could turn it around in stoneware and so on, but you really went the other way.
But for me, mathematics has fantasy, not bookkeeping.
No.
But mathematics has fantasy. And when I make my wildest colors, I found out that for me, in my paintings, I must find a certain rhythm. Also in the jewelry color mix. When that certain rhythm is there, the colors are right. And I always held at that, and that's why I don't make a mistake. There is a mathematical rhythm at the basic of creation.
Yeah,
Even in the universe,
very,
everything is mathematics.
Very, very true. So you moved to Switzerland and you lived there for a while, and but not for too long, right?
I lived there. I got married in '45 in Lausanne, Switzerland.
Beautiful place.
And it was charming. We were kids, we were crazy, but it was lovely. And I worked, and then from the ceramic jewelry, I started making cups and other things in ceramic. And I had a ceramic factory on the end of that venture, because I had different ventures in my life.
Yeah, yeah.
And in '51, I went to Paris.
Paris. God,
and when I arrived in Paris, I arrived with all, I think, 100 French francs. That's about $1 now. If one makes an effort, it's $1. And their ceramic was not, that wasn't it.
Yeah.
And then one day or one night, I had the inspiration to paint on mother-of-pearl buttons. Don't ask me why, I don't know. But when I have an inspiration, I don't discuss, I go.
Let me just go back one moment. When you moved to Paris, why Paris? Why not, I mean, Lausanne is beautiful, Geneva.
Because I fell in love with Paris. I only moved to places where I fall in love with.
So more or less you visited Paris before. And
I visited Paris, and I just loved
the eternal city. It was like beautiful.
Yeah. And in '51, after the war,
right, I remember
was just
very clearly
great. People were good-humored, and everybody was helpful, and it was friendly. It was just fascinating.
Yes, it was wonderful.
And then a friend of mine saw those hand-painted buttons, and she said, "Why don't you go? I know Balmain. I make you an appointment."
Yeah.
And I was scared to death. I mean, I've never sold. It was all new for me, and Paris was new for me. Besides, I came from Lausanne, and everybody laughed because I had picked up in Lausanne a Swiss accent.
Oh.
And so the French in the beginning, everybody imitated me with my the Swiss sing a little bit. But that left with the time. And so I took a drop of vodka to get some courage, and there I went to Balmain. And Balmain looked at them and said, "I like it."
Now, one moment, please. Explain, who is Balmain?
Balmain is one of the big couture houses in Paris. At that time, there was Jacques Fat and Dior and Balenciaga and Givenchy, and Balmain was one of the big houses. And Balmain loved them, but he said, "Buttons, I don't need, the season is over. Can you make cufflinks?" And I always say yes. I said, "Sure." I hadn't got any idea, but I said, somehow I'll find a way. I invent.
Good.
So I took my first order, and I danced around Paris lamp just for joy to have gotten my first order. And
you mean you danced around a street lamp?
At the street lamp, And
those beautiful old-fashioned.
And from that on it went very fast, and everybody wanted them. And Hermes and Fat made blouses to match the buttons.
My God, how beautiful.
And that was the beginning, a very successful beginning in Paris.
Yeah.
And then from the buttons came the jewelry.
I saw something. We have a couple photos here. Maybe the camera can pick up the drape over the bazaar, on the bazaar. Can you explain a little bit about the...
I made a mesh jacket from metal mesh, and all studded with jewels. It was all studded. It was all made like a jewel.
Yeah.
And Diana Vreeland saw that, and she fell in love with the jacket, and she made me double-sized covers of Harper's Bazaar, which is very rare. I think they had only 5 altogether.
God, that is just absolutely...
And I sold it to iMagnin in Los Angeles from Paris.
From Paris.
And Russell Carpenter, who then was the manager, when he came to Paris, he met me. He's very tall. He took me in my arms, gave me lifted me up, gave me a kiss on each cheek, and said, "I didn't only sold your jacket the same day. The lady even ordered a dress to match." So everybody was happy.
My God! Now let me ask you something. Maybe I don't know how to exactly get it right, but was the name like, or did you go by Countess Cici, or did they call you Cici? I mean, like I said earlier, I mean, to me, it's such an honor to be around a real countess.
In the beginning, I made a mistake. I was modest, and I said, well, we'll call it Cis. But then when they made an interview, they put Countess Zoltowska. And that split my publicity, because some people said, do you work for the Countess Zoltowska, or do Countess Zoltowska do work for Cis? So then I put the whole thing in one together again. Yes. And I even had once, I walked out of the house, 2 ladies came along. And they looked at me, and each one told the other one, you see, I told you that. Each one said that. One said Cis is better, and the other said Countess Zoltowska makes better jewelry. So they decided to first go to one and then to the other one, when on the street corner they found out that it was the same.
I will hold this up. This is one of your many, I don't know whether the camera can pick this up, but this is our Countess Cis Zoltowski, and now you changed your middle name even, or it's like a nickname to Cici.
No, Cici I was always called. I just shortened it. Cici, it doesn't make too long.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's an honor, and it's very exciting. Very exciting for you to be here, and exciting to talk about your where you're from. And anyway, let's go on to Paris. And as you were in Paris, you from what I understand, build up a little clientele, and by little, it's an understatement. You build up quite some clientele. Tell me, give me some of your clientele's names.
Balenciaga, Givenchy, Jacques Fabre.
Those were the houses you worked for. Now you designed for
the Duchess of Windsor.
The Duchess of Windsor. She must have been something.
Oh, she was charming, and I made wild things for her. I remember I made it wasn't the head, it wasn't the comb, it was a jewel for the hair, and it went like a hand on one side, and it went like a hand on the other side.
How beautiful.
And she loved it, and I made a lot of things. And Lauren Bacall also came once to see me when I was in Paris, and I made jewelry. Yeah, and I made jewelry for all the theaters, Théâtre Français, Odéon, Edwige Feuillère, Marie Belle, everybody.
Well, I hear that you have a wonderful model outside. So why don't we call her in and let her model some of your wonderful things, and
that would be
you
great.
Maybe explain some of your colors and stones and whatever.
Okay.
So, Virginia?
Well, first are the glasses. Are the glasses amusing? I make jewelry to make life more amusing. That's the reason. Make women more beautiful and make life happier and amusing. And when I wear it, and everybody who wears it, we get so many compliments.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Tell me a little bit about her belt knuckle. I mean, it's not just a belt knuckle, it's just a piece
I make
like a
belts
flowers.
for many couture houses here. I make jewelry for Jimmy Galliano since 25 years, who is the biggest and best known and most talented dress designer in America.
Yes.
And we adapt the belts to the colors of the dress, to the jewelry, we make them small, we make them big, whatever. It's amusing to adapt things, to make them really match. And then we make evening bags.
Oh, but the bag is absolutely beautiful. Yes, beautiful.
It's a collection piece. One can have it for years, and I try to make it match more or less everything, and make them not too small. So nowadays we have to have a driver's license. So I make them big enough that all that fits in.
Yes.
If one day nobody picks us up, that happens occasionally.
Right. And I see she's wearing a watch as well as I am wearing
we have
a
all
beautiful watch. It is just, tell me a little bit about your watches. I mean, when do you wear watches like this?
I wear them.
I love it. I
wear them the whole day. I have smaller ones and bigger ones for evening.
Now
and
that
I
one is
sell them to museums also, because they are unique pieces.
Very unique, very
I
unique.
use all kinds of stones. I use a lot of semi-precious stones. And I have them from all over the world, and I collect them and all. And it's a hard work. For me, it's not always joy, but I try to make pleasure to other people.
Maybe you can show some of these on your model or on yourself.
You want to change?
Oh, yes.
And maybe I'll wear a couple, and we can.
And I also have.
What about? Didn't you tell me Princess Grace was one of your clients? And
no, but Queen Sirikit of Thailand.
Now,
and
this I can.
Jackie Kennedy has things from me.
Right.
Very many people. I mean, some bought them from me direct, some bought them from Balenciaga, some bought them from Gallo. I mean, they have been all over.
I mean, I've seen Chanel has a lot of colors out right at this very moment, and Karl Lagerfeld really went wild with all his decorations. And I see myself halfway there. But you happen to make these beautiful creations 15, 20 years ago.
I
you were way ahead of your time.
started the real fashion jewelry.
Yes.
Because when I came to Paris, they made imitation of real jewelry. Emeralds, sapphires and rubies. And even the cut stones, Tyrolean cut stones. The first days when I started in Paris, they said, that's not what you must do. You must make imitation. I said, never mind, I'll just do what I feel is right. And then everybody followed me. Their first colored stones, I painted them with my brush below in fuchsia and all those colors. And when I came to Paris, all the real jewelry was white in all the windows. And 3 years later, all the windows went in color. They had to take other colored stone like tourmaline and all, because the all white was just not around anymore.
Well, I know we have so much more to tell the audience, but I want to focus on one more item before we go into other things. Maybe the camera can pick this up. It's a beautiful top with beautiful stones, and I don't know. I mean, this is 15 years ago. So, I mean, we see it nowadays. In fact, this year we see it a lot. But the work is absolutely beautiful. Okay, let's go on to another subject, because I know you're not just a creator of wonderful fine jewelry, you are also into other areas in the arts, like you first of all, you're a painter.
I'm a painter,
You left Paris and you went over to Bangkok, did you say?
No, I lived in Paris.
You lived in Paris?
Why I lived in Paris? The cousin of the King of Thailand and I were friends when we were 17 years old. His father was regent in Thailand at the time because the king was too young, and then the war came, and then we got out of sight, and then we met again in Paris. And he said, well, if now you come and visit us in Thailand. And he sent me a ticket, airplane. And if you get a ticket to Thailand, you go.
You too.
I fell so much in love with Thailand that just to be able to afford 2 times a year, 2 months in Thailand, I started making dresses in Thai silk in Thailand.
My God, that is beautiful.
And once a year I used to spend
for the Thai
Tokyo.
woman? Or?
No, for the European. No.
For the European?
For the European, I sold to also again Balmain and to Bonwit Taylor and to all those people.
So you really, I mean, you were making items for the high society set. I mean, you were really into the upper crust of people with all your creations, no matter what you did.
And they understand if something new comes.
I see, yes, right, because they're the first ones to go at it and always want to be unique and unusual. Okay, so in Thailand you created dresses and whatever.
Hostess gowns and evening gowns, essentially, in Thai silk.
Also, didn't you do some tapestries and...
When I came to America in '68, just in '67, just before the barricades in Paris, at that time you couldn't give a jewel away because everything in fashion is very difficult because today it's here and tomorrow it's gone.
Right.
And we are still here. And we have to find a new way. So when I came here, jewelry didn't go, and I am a painter, but to live from paintings, unless you have a very good agent, which I wasn't lucky enough to find, it's difficult. So I started painting. Needlepoint was fashion at that time.
Needlepoint, yes.
And I painted, but not the little flowers like other people. I painted my landscapes and all my wild things on ducks and animals and elephants and all, but sometimes on wall hangings 6 foot high.
My beautiful.
And that went very well.
Yes.
And all my clients gave shows for me in Dallas, in Houston. I had a big show at Marshall Field in Chicago. I was everywhere. And that went, but unfortunately in '84, that went out of fashion. So
you mean tapestries?
Tapestries.
Yes.
So now I'm back into jewelry.
Well, I'm so amazed. I mean, you have really a very rounded career in creativity and in the arts. And I just saw this little bit of a picture, and I don't know whether this is a little bit too small, but this, I understand, is your
That's my garage door of my house.
My God, what for you viewers out there, it would be nice to have a garage door or doors or windows.
Believe me,
like
it's
this.
nice to come home to that rather than to a white garage door.
Yes, I believe so. Certainly, you come in and you open this beautiful door, and I'm sure you go into a beautiful home. Countess, a little bit more about now in Los Angeles. We've gone from Hungary to Vienna to Switzerland to Paris. We've been around the world almost. And now we are here. Why Los Angeles? Because we don't have much time left. So if we can sort of have a couple minutes on what we're doing now. And
I showed in San Francisco about 22 years ago on an international trade fair. And friends of mine invited me here. And there was again a place I fell in love with. I fell in love with Los Angeles 20 years ago. It reminded me also Bangkok. Bangkok is also called the city of the angels. And it has the flowers and the tropical. And here I am.
Yeah, so do you start?
Nearly a native.
Yes.
By now.
Yes. After a while, that's what we say.
Yeah.
Do you also, I understand you speak quite a few languages.
Yes.
You speak what, 6, 7
I think 9,
languages?
and I understand 18. And I have been in between sworn in translator at the LA courts in German, French, Hungarian, Italian.
God, wonderful.
I love languages.
Yes.
If I wouldn't have to earn my living, I would go on studying languages and traveling and.
Well, I cannot tell you enough how grateful I am to have met you and have you here and to hear about all your talents. And I'm sure our viewers, you agree with me, this has been a very much of a treat. And we hope that you could come back one day with more. Unfortunately, time goes by so fast. So maybe you can give us some parting words. And I certainly enjoyed having you here.
Well, it was lovely being here, and I thank you very much for having been so interested in my work and all. That is very charming.
Thank you, Countess.
It was lovely being here, and
thank you.
I thank you.
Maybe the camera can just 1 second maybe pick up on a couple items that we have. I mean, I have so much of your work here. Like I said, I couldn't show it, but again, thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon.
With pleasure, and thank you very much.
Wow, that was a